right, welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. How's everybody doing? Let's party. Hold on. I just gotta check something. Give me a second. All right, be right back.
Richard?
Okay, never mind. We're all good. Take two. All right, welcome back to the party, everybody. I'm your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. How's everybody doing tonight? Hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you. And let's party. Big shout out to the Repay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, even though you missed the live party, guys. That is the best part. So make sure you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. We got morning here with us, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. Let's also say thank you to my6shirt.com. Whatever your persuasion, they've got something for you. And of course, it is the only place to get your very own The Indian Jesus official merch. Only at my6shirt.com. All right. I am ready for a party. I hope you guys are as well. So, we were going through one of the street epistemology videos from Peter Boghossian in our last stream. And we're going to be catching up with him again today, but for good reason. I am here to announce that Peter Boghossian will be here live next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. So I figured we would use the previous stream for street epistemology. We have a great conversation here with Richard Dawkins, and then I got something else planned for you that is going to roll right into what we are doing for a Friday stream. So again, hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and it's going to be a good time. So if you're not familiar with Richard Dawkins, he's the older dude here. He is a biologist, and he was part of the whole new atheist movement. But as we've seen, especially with people like Sam Harris, it's not really a thing anymore. They are very different in terms of what they believe and how they speak about the very same issues. So I thought it would be a relevant thing to bring up here. Not just the street epistemology aspect of what Peter Boghossian does, but this conversation is a great insight into who he is and all that good stuff. Without further ado, let's do it. As always, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
Thanks for having a conversation with me today.
It's a pleasure, Peter.
I appreciate it. How have you been?
Very well, thank you. I never caught COVID as far as I know. Did you?
Really? No, not as far as I know. Not at all. And I don't know.
I said, shit, me either. Shout out to Lil Toes. Welcome to the party. Indeed, the left cannot meme. That is a reference to today's video that I just dropped. That's new videos every single day. Make sure you go and check that out after the stream. Welcome to the party, brother.
Why? Because I engaged in a lot of high-risk activities. Well, I hid away for a year because I have Crohn's disease, so I'm immunocompromised. So I didn't, and in the beginning, we didn't know how bad it was. And then after like a year and a half, I started doing wrestling, jiu-jitsu, which is like wrestling. And it's a high-risk activity because you're basically wrestling with 10, 12, 15 people an hour every day. And I never caught it.
That's okay. You must have been well vaccinated then.
Shout out to Zippy the Strange. Welcome to the party, brother. Good to see ya.
Yeah, I was triple vax. I am triple vaxxed, boosted and vaxxed.
Uh-oh.
So we're here in Oxford. What do you spend your day doing? What do you do in the day?
I'm writing a book, just about finishing it actually, and I'm just starting a Substack and a YouTube channel and a podcast.
Yeah, the poetry of reality.
Yes, that's what they're all called. And also just bought a house, and so that's being done up in a big way
in Oxford. Okay.
Oh, secrets.
Why did you buy it there?
My family has lived there since 1726, I think,
okay.
and my sister's family and all there.
Shout out to Unwanted Foe. Welcome to the party. So that Planned Parenthood edit in the video had me busting up. Me as well. Shout out to Seamus of Freedom Tunes. He is hilarious And, his videos are not really things that I can, very easily add to. So when he does something like that, where I'm able to bring that to you guys and, put a little bit of my own flavor, really, really appreciated it. Glad you enjoyed it. Welcome to the party, Daniel Cabrera. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you, brother.
Tell you about some things that I've been thinking about, and
Okay.
then you can give me a reality check and tell me what you think. So for a long time, I wrote, a manual for creating atheists, and I was trying to make the world more sane and more rational, and I was trying to help people become more thoughtful and reflect on their beliefs.
A manual for creating atheists. Gonna have to check that one out.
Have reliable epistemologies upon which they could rely. And one of the things that I noticed since maybe 2013, maybe 2012, was that as religiosity decreased, deranged woke beliefs increased.
Mm-hmm. And so what has Vivek been saying about the God-sized hole in your heart? That if you don't have, if you have a God-sized hole in your heart, something is going to fill it. Whether that is, good moral philosophy or leftist ideology, something is going to fill it. Oh, shout out to Unwanted Foe starting up the stream with the $2 super chat. Said, fuel up Morty for a long stream. Come over here, bud. Come and get your treat from Unwanted Foe. There it is. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so much, brother. Much appreciated.
And I guess my first question to you is, I don't know who came up with this. I might have come up with this. I don't know who came up with this, but the substitution hypothesis.
Yes.
The substitution hypothesis. So we do have, hold on, let me fix this here. We do have our running poll. Shout out again to Unwanted Foe. We have our running poll right now. Is substitution theory or the substitution hypothesis something that we should be concerned about? The answer is being yes, no, or I don't know what that is. So far, most of you are saying you don't know what that is, so I'm going to let them explain a little bit more. But keep that in mind if you're not sure, and then if you want to change your answer because when you learn about it, let me know. And replay gang, I'll be waiting in the comments. Zippy says, if you do not believe in something, you'll believe in anything, as the song says. Indeed, indeed.
And I honestly do not know the answer to this question. Do you think that as one religion fades, another, like default is the belief state for humans? They just have to believe something.
Mm-hmm.
And as the old religion fades, a new one has to come in?
Yup.
Yeah.
Christianity is on its way out, and you do see, the rise of Islam, but you also see the rise of, a dogmatic adherence to leftist ideology.
Gullibility expands to fill the vacuum.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah,
precisely.
I suppose that's right. I hadn't really thought of it before, but it sounds plausible to me. I think G.K. Chesterton, who was a very religious man,
Right.
Said when people stop believing in God, they believe in anything.
Yeah.
He was a very witty, clever man, although he was a devout Roman Catholic.
Yeah.
And again, this is why we need to make sure that those among us who cannot believe have an alternative, because right now we don't.
There's something in it, I think, and there's no doubt about it that we seem to have exchanged one form of superstitious religiosity for another.
Yeah.
And the analogy goes pretty deep. I think John McWhirter pointed out that there's a strong relationship between original sin in the Christian religion.
Oh, that was me pointed that out.
You pointed that
2014. Yeah.
Okay.
That was my article with James Lindsay. Privilege is the original sin, but yeah, go ahead.
Good for you. So original sin being, we're all born in sin. We all inherit the sin of Adam.
Right.
We white people inherit the sin of slavery and colonialism. And because we're white, we have to feel guilty for what not necessarily our ancestors, but people of the same color as us.
That's a good point. It's not just about your ancestors. It's about other people who happened to just share the tone of skin you have.
in past centuries did. So that's one analogy. And then transubstantiation,
right.
which is in the Catholic religion, you know,
Well, what's going on here? They told me that if I use a different browser, then it would be better. No? Come on, baby. Struggle streaming. All right. So screw Brave browser. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to pop into one that I already have set up. 2 seconds. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. All right. All right. So now we're going back to... We are going back to what we know well. All right. Well, I guess that was not the fix. So let's see where we were. I knew that was going to happen. All right. No? Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Your browser has lost connection to the screen share. Didn't I just redo this? Oh, man. What is going on? We might have to do a restart, guys. All right, give me your questions. I'm going to have to restart the whole thing. Give me your questions. Ask me about anything you want. All right, all right, all right. That struggle stream, man. That struggle stream. All right. So let me restart this. Let's see. Daniel says they've also told you men can become women. Yeah, we know that is not the case, right? Oh, that's not what I'm trying to do. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Zippy says the way YouTube does videos now, they can offload more data to your computer so it can decode, which means it's buggy AF. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I mean, this is a brand new computer. Everything works perfectly, except when I'm trying to work with you guys. They changed it a year or so ago, so it's less hard on their servers. Okay, so why are we still getting all this struggle? Stream it. I do not appreciate it. I do not like it. Oh, man. Send in your questions, guys. I'll be set up in 30 seconds here, but let's get it all. Let's keep the show going. Hey, we got Nick in the building. Nope, that's not working yet. All right, welcome. Said, what's up, buddy? I hope everyone is doing well today. This seems interesting. Indeed, it is. I just watched an interesting video about sex and robots and AI. It's good and then bad sides. What were the good sides? Because that sounds like all bad all the way around. I'm wonderful. Said, I think I'll change my answer from I don't know to yes. It's apparent that without structure, human nature leads to a downward spiral. Definitely agree with that as well. And I mean, you might think that because I am an atheist, that I'd be like, no way, religion is bad. We need all this, that, the other, anything but religion. But that's not the case at all. And it's just that we need to be able to replace that ideology with something better. All right. Okay. All right. Zippy said it's offloaded to you, so it's more buggy. Should be the you. I gotcha. So they're taking all of that energy and saddling me with it, huh? All right. Give me 2 seconds here. I appreciate you guys. So much. Shit, which one was it? Nope. Come on. All right. And we are back. And we're back. All right. All right. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Much appreciated. Let's back this up a little bit.
Right.
We white people inherit the sin of slavery
Right.
and colonialism. And because we're white, we have to feel guilty for what our, not necessarily our ancestors, but people of the same color as us in
Yeah.
past centuries did. So that's one analogy. And then transubstantiation,
Right.
which is in the Catholic religion, you know, the wine literally turns to
Right.
blood, where literally doesn't quite mean literally. It means what Aristotle called the accidentals stay wine, but the true substance of the wine becomes blood. So when
That don't sound right to me.
somebody stands up and says, I am a woman, although they've got a male body,
Right.
that's transubstantiation. In the accidentals.
Oh, okay. I see. He's saying that in the church, they're saying that the wine actually does turn to blood, which obviously is not the case. And the same thing happens. The same thing is going on for the transes. That no, it's transubstantiation, as to use his word. That you might say it, but that doesn't mean that you actually become a woman.
They still have a penis and they still have Y chromosome, but in the true substance, they have become female.
Shout out to I gotta turn this down. Oh man! Shout out to Indie Film. Welcome to the party. Said I answered no. I meant to say I didn't know. And that's fine because we are just about to get into it. Let me just do. Gotta make sure these volume that Brave browser definitely did not do it. So they're just about to go into it. We may have passed it, but basically the idea is that if you don't have some type of belief in your life, then it will be filled with some other type of belief, and often a worse set of beliefs. And I completely agree with that. Even though I am an atheist, I think that you are better off believing in Christianity or Hinduism or Islam than believing in nothing. But what I think is better than believing in Islam, Christianity, or Hinduism, or any of that, is coming up with your own set of morality that you actually study. You look through the different lines of thought with Christianity, with all these other things, with Buddhism, with secular morality, all of that stuff. Welcome to the party. Hey, shout out to Zippy the Strange with the $5 super chat. No comment, no question, just pure love of the day. Morty, come get your treat. Where'd he go? Morty, come on, Morty, come get your treat. All right, we're gonna leave it for him. Is he hiding? I think it's storming, but we got one right here for him. Thank you. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you, sir. You've got to be joking.
So that's where the word transubstantiation comes from, the transsubstance.
Yeah.
And there's a very strong analogy to transubstantiation in transsexualism.
Oh, tell me more. How so?
Well, the wine becomes blood,
And
when the priest simply declares it that it is.
This is what I'm
a male person becomes female when he declares himself to be female.
Obviously, he's not saying he believes in this. This is the dogmatic belief.
And in the Aristotelian terms, the substance has changed.
right.
The substance of wine has changed to blood. The substance of maleness has changed to femaleness. But the accidentals, the incidentals, are what are regarded by Catholics as trivial and by trans people as trivial. So they really believe that they have become the other sex.
Yeah, PayPal is better, but hey, who doesn't like to see their name all highlighted? Either way, I very much appreciate it. Thank you.
It's remarkable how obvious it is that those are delusions. I mean, it's crystal clear to anybody not caught in the orbit of the ideology that is a delusion.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They get around it by this word gender, which is separate from sex. And there are some who I think even think their sex has changed.
Correct.
And others who think that they admit that their sex hasn't changed, but their gender has.
Yep, and I was called a stupid something or another propagandist, something like that, for comparing the dogma of religion to the dogma of believing a man can transform into a female. And I use those words very deliberately, a man transforming into a female. And some lefty, it was on one of the Young Turks videos that I did. They're like, nobody says that. You sure? You sure? You sure? A wanted fellow said, what a crazy use of Catholics' belief against them with the trans movement. Holy Yup. Yup.
Yeah.
So I guess I have two questions. One is, it seems to me that there are degrees of delusion that one can have. So if we accept that, like there are certain things that are, like if I told you everybody, those books are really aliens from another planet and they've come down, okay, that's another level of delusion. And so I often think, this is the thing that's been causing me to think about this. I'm utterly incredulous at the sheer madness that people believe now, in a way that I was not incredulous, in 2010 or two.
I'll tell you why. I'm not surprised. Because all of the crazy stuff that people believe these days, specifically around gender and race, is no more or less crazy than believing in any religion. We're just more used to it. I heard an analogy to some of these things about beliefs and what is weird to us. If there was no such thing as giraffes, right? And then somebody told you, yeah, there's this animal with its neck that's taller than you are. You'd be like, dude, come on, that's not what animals are. But you've seen them since you were a little kid, so you know that those are real. But if you didn't, it would be really, really weird, wouldn't it? And if we didn't have pictures, if we didn't have video, it would be a big ask for somebody who's never seen a giraffe before to believe that an animal could be built that way. It's just a matter of how used to the beliefs are you. Nick says, I think morals and purpose are needed, but more and more experience makes me feel like the brainwashing of religion is more harmful than beneficial. I'm supposed to be the increase in hate in religion. Yeah, supposedly, right? Because you don't believe, so you must be an atheist. I'm flipping that one around for those who get the inside joke.
2001. So let's take a look at somebody walked on water. This guy named Jesus, he walked on water.
What?
This is a intervention in the space.
Oh, look at that. I don't even got to ask you guys for the likes. Thank you so much, guys. You guys are awesome.
Continuum by a supernatural being, and it caused this individual to walk on water. Okay, that's clearly a delusion. If somebody believes in it, if someone accepts that as true. And
does anybody here believe that the story of Jesus walking on water or turning the loaves into fish and wine, does anybody believe that those are not metaphorical and that those actually happen? Put one in the chat if you believe that those are actual things that actually happen.
Then you have the belief that men can get pregnant. That, to me, seems like a significantly more profound delusion.
Hey, we got the man himself back again. Dr. Peter Boghossian says, I recognize you as the one true Indian Jesus. Thank you so much for coming by. I've been, really enjoying your work lately, and I figured before we, I just announced at the beginning of this stream that we're going to have the great Peter Boghossian on next week. And I figured, why not get everybody else as comfortable or familiar with your work as I am? Welcome to the party. Everybody give a big shout out to Peter Boghossian. Welcome.
Yes.
Or am I wrong?
I think it come from the postmodern belief that feelings are more important than facts.
Yes.
Oh. Are you still seeing that?
It's the redefinition of the word.
Come on, StreamYard.
But they actually, they literally believe men can get pregnant. And the thing that I've been thinking about is, kind of goes back to Plato. Is it better to let people believe benign delusions? I mean, in an ideal world, people would proportion their confidence in a belief to the evidence they have for the belief. But humanity is sloppy and messy. And the thing that I've been thinking about.
Okay, I thought it was going to be a multiple choice question, but real quick, let's say hello to Martian Overlord. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Said I had my preconceptions removed back in 2000. My entire belief system is built on my observations. That's how it should be. You take the time to actually look at what values do I hold? What values do I want to live by? And what values do I want other people to live by? Let me live those out. Whether it comes from a God, whether it comes from a philosopher, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as long as we're all agreeing, hey, this is how people should be. This is how people should be. That's all that we should really care about. Welcome to the party, brother.
About recently is.
Oh, yeah. I want to back up a little bit. What was the question?
The ideal world,
Oh, yeah.
let people believe benign delusions.
Is it better to let people believe benign delusions? I would say generally, yes. Generally, it is better to let people just kind of, believe whatever, generally. But the problem is that I don't know what you would actually consider a benign belief, because beliefs are what drive your actions. And the fact is, any kind of belief, the belief that cars are not going to hurt you is not that benign. So I think we would all agree on that. And yeah, like Unwanted Foe is saying, if it's benign, sure, it only gets dangerous when they involve others against their will. And it's really hard to draw that line of like, okay, what is a belief that's specifically only going to affect you and yourself versus something that because you believe it, then it may lead to actions that are now involving other people. So generally, in a vacuum, I would say, yes, it's better to let people believe benign delusions just because it's easier. But just because it's easy doesn't mean it's right. And that is when we dig into that idea of, okay, what do we mean by benign? What would constitute a belief that is benign or a delusion that is benign? Something that cannot translate into other people being harmed in any way. And I just don't really think that there are many things that can be considered benign delusions. Zippy says, I try to keep an open mind. Truth is always stranger than Zippy. I mean, fiction. Yep. Well, it's definitely stranger than fiction. I don't know about you, buddy. Just kidding. Skipped one here. Martian said the rough part was the near-death experience. Oh, you went through one? Yeah. I mean, there's a reason religion works. There's a reason. It's a good explanation for all of the stuff that we have not yet explained. But because we have not explained them, we don't know. It's just filling in the blanks. And so if you've been through a near-death experience, then a lot of what you will have experienced in that moment or a collection of moments is going to sound similar to what people talk about in a religious context, which is, again, why I keep saying that we need to stop using religious language when it's not appropriate, when it's not relevant. But yeah, I totally feel that. Zippy says, cars are more deadly to non-criminals than guns. I said, I hope it's true. It should be. I'm gonna go with that. If somebody wants a fact check, go for it. Nick said that's true, and not much stranger than Zippy. Just ribbon. We're just having fun. Martian said most religion is bulky and wasted words.
Bingo.
Absolutely.
I mean, in an ideal world, people would proportion their confidence in a belief to the evidence they have for the belief.
Mm-hmm.
But humanity is sloppy and messy. And the thing that I've been thinking about recently is, if it's true that there are degrees of delusion.
So yeah, something I want you guys to notice, both now and when Peter's actually here, is that he is very quick-witted. Remember when we were watching the Street Epistemology, very quickly he's able to take this situation and kind of drive it in the way that he wants without saying it, out loud like that. And so when you see somebody who can think and act and speak like that, and then they are kind of taking a moment to really think about how they want to, you know what I mean? Then that means like, oh, okay, the wheels are turning and there's something going to come out here, most likely. Zippy said it's a lot of overthinking, but half of it is profit driven. I would say a little more than half. I mean, at this point, religion is a business.
And if it's true,
So
and
there's degrees to delusion.
I don't know if it's true that there's a substitution hypothesis, then should rational people step out of the way or not encourage people to believe things that are false? Because I would never do that, and I think that's grossly unethical. But there are certain delusions that are better for people to believe en masse than others.
Yes,
Absolutely.
if you've got to believe in it.
Absolutely. I mean, believing that all 3-year-olds should have their eyes plucked out is a delusion that is going to cause more damage than I believe that there's somebody watching over me, so I'm going to behave as if that is the case. Very, very different things. But again, even the more benign is eventually going to lead into something that is going to drive your actions and turn into reality. And it's not just that belief. So since we're up to 10 votes, let's end the poll here. The is substitution theory or the substitution hypothesis something that we should be concerned about? So we started off with an even split, 40% saying yes and 40% saying I don't know. But some people have already said that they are moving into the yes category. And this is the whole channel, guys. That substitution hypothesis is what I live by. That absolutely religion is or a belief system is a natural way for humans to develop. These specific dogmatic beliefs that people have are bad. Bad, just bad. So what we need to do is substitute those with better beliefs, ones that can be tied to science, ones that can be tied to actually seeing how society progresses, and ones that can be questioned. Not just, hey, these are the rules, this is what's best for you, end of story. That's not how it's supposed to be. Martian said to Zippy, religion has become very corrupt since the reign of OG, the first king before the first fall. I don't know who that is, but probably even before that, you know? Nick says, a business and a means of control, in my view. Well said. Yeah, definitely. A means of control. That is, I think, you know, I mean, this is based just on my own personal beliefs, not anything legitimate. I think that was the main purpose of turning this notion of you know, having grace and believing that there's a creator and understanding that about the universe, or I think you understand that about the universe, to the actual rules and tenets of what we would call then a religion, as opposed to just an ideology. 100% agree, Nick.
Delusion. If there's some law that says there's a certain quotient of deludedness that everybody's got to have,
Right?
And some are more harmless than others. And
Correct.
So, I mean, I sort of feel this a little bit about Islam and Christianity.
Yeah.
That Islam is such an evil at the moment, or Islamism is such an evil at the moment, that in Africa especially, maybe Christianity is a better alternative. And it may be that it's no good trying to preach atheism in Africa.
Right.
Exactly. And so this is one of the big names in atheism at the time, in the 2010s. Like, you could not be an atheist without knowing the name Richard Dawkins, without having read The God Delusion, without knowing what The Selfish Gene, these are books that he's read. And I went, you know, I actually went to see a talk that he did in New York one time. And it was around the time, I think it was like a 2015, 2016, right in that area. And he was starting to become, let's just say, I thought he might be going down the same road as Sam Harris, where, you know, he was going to be this leftist, because atheists and leftists, unfortunately, because there's no substitute, have too much of an overlap. He doesn't like Trump, but, you know, it didn't really go that far. And we'll see now that there's people coming after him who have followed him their whole lives, thinking that Richard Dawkins is the one who's got this all figured out. But now that atheism and politics and all that, it's starting to, you know, the landscape is starting to change. What I have for you on Friday is somebody looking at this podcast and seeing what they think is wrong, which is why we are checking this out today. I got it all figured out, guys.
Christianity might be a better alternative. I think Ayaan Hirsi Ali has suggested something
Yeah,
similar to that.
she has. I think one of the last times I saw you, I did a talk in Kamloops, Canada,
Yes.
and it was
And bacon, huh? I love bacon.
about deprogramming
Yeah.
jihadis.
Yes.
And one of the things that they do when they deprogram jihadis is they don't use atheism or Christianity. They use more benign
Right.
interpretations of the Quran.
Right. So if you're this super extreme Muslim who a jihadi who's willing to self-emulsate, trying to dance around the words here, then being like, nah, none of that's true. That's not going to work. You already have this belief. Everybody around you who is a otherwise moral person has these beliefs. And we know that there are people who believe in Islam who are not these jihadis. So why not use that interpretation to de-radicalize them? I'm 100% behind that. Just in case anybody wasn't clear, as a staunch atheist who believes that all dogmatic thinking is bad, I still think there is gradations and there is nuance to this.
And so I've just been wondering in terms of this, so I no longer think it's true. I used to think it's true. If people just stop believing this silliness, all of a sudden would have a flourishing of rational human beings that engaged each other and proportion their beliefs to the evidence. But the last decade has shown that that's monstrously false.
Shout out to Dr. Raj Patel. Welcome to the party. Amazing picture that you got there, Doctor. Welcome to the party.
In fact, the last decade has shown that we now have wide-scale institutional capture of our institutions, particularly our academic institutions. I'm specifically referring to the United States, but I'm also referring to here. We went to Goldsmiths and did some videos the other day, and places where the ideology has seeped in. And I've been thinking about, like, how do you create a prophylactic to prevent an institution from succumbing to what's morally fashionable?
How do you stop an institution from succumbing to what's morally fashionable? You have to have a more fashionable moral structure that actually works. Now, this is where we get to that's a good side. Well, either side, I love it. But the only way to prevent the institutions from succumbing to what is morally fashionable is to make what is morally fashionable also morally sufficient. Those things have to be the same, because you cannot prevent these institutions from trying to go with what's fashionable, what's trendy. So we have to be the ones to set that fashion, to set that trend, and say, hey, whether you believe in this, that, or the other, we care about community. We care about America. We care about meritocracy. We care about capitalism. How you got there, we don't care, but that is what we believe. Martian Overlord said, I will die for the right to eat bacon. Like Jesus said, when it comes to bacon, I agree with Kermit the Frog when he said he screws pigs.
What?
All right. I mean, hey, I love bacon too, so I'll take it. Daniel says, jihadis sounds like the Muslim rooter. Would you go? Would it be like that? Or would they be burqa'd out? Because, I mean, if they're just wearing that and, maybe something else, I think it would be a good time. Martian Overlord said, people need to remember George Carlin. Can you canonize him? Yeah, I mean, George Carlin was, after thinking about it for a long time, after I had already realized that I no longer believed in God or religion, I was trying to think about, like, what started this whole thing? Because a lot of atheists have a big, run from Jesus moment, as opposed to come to Jesus moment. I never really had one, because it was a very conscious thing that I was reading and learning more. And it's just through that learning more, both from the Bible itself, from within the religion itself, as well as moral philosophy outside of what I was learning in the church. Then, I wasn't really sure. But bringing up George Carlin, I remembered one of his old stand-up comedy specials, one of the HBO specials, and he made he did this long bit about the Catholic Church and about how it's just all BS. And I must have seen this when I was like 6, 7, maybe not that young, maybe like 8 or 9 years old. And that I seem to think that is where the seed was planted. So I mean, there's no way to really encapsulate how much this world needs George Carlin. I completely agree. Zippy says the power went out. Oh yeah, we're all struggle streaming tonight. Daniel said, hell yeah, I would go and I don't care. Muslim Hooters, let's do it. You guys want to go to jihadis? Yes, great point. Not only a great comedian, but a great philosopher.
To succumbing to the new religion. So you're on the board of the University of Austin. I'm a founding faculty at the University of Austin. Today, the issues are free speech and open inquiry, which are under attack. But maybe tomorrow it's something that we can't even think about, right? Maybe who knows what it's going to be. So is there a way that you can, subspecies aeternitatis, or is there a way that you can, I don't know what it would be like, write something into the mission statement, or what can you do to prevent an ideology from having a domino effect and just taking over whole-scale institutions?
Well, if you're right about the substitution hypothesis, that's a very pessimistic conclusion.
It is, right? Because that means that we have to not only have this American identity that we talk about all the time, where we care about family and community and culture and all those things, but we have to live that in such a way that we can not supersede, because again, this is not supposed to be in conflict with religion. You can be a Christian American, you can be a Muslim American. It's all about America. But yeah, it's a dark, maybe not so white-pilled looking future. And so that's why we have to work so hard in order to do this. Nick says, I know I will affect people I interact with in life and don't want it to be negative. I would prefer to make life better for others. That, for me, makes life have just as much meaning as religion could. Spot on, brother. Spot on. And yeah, people are definitely corruptible. But if they have a good reason to want to adhere to a moral structure, then they will. The question is, how do we get that? And so this is why, I need to get myself in front of, great minds like Peter Boghossian here, because I know that I have the right answers. I know it. It may need some fine tuning, but my idea of replacing this idea that we're a Christian nation just because we were built on Christian values and start talking about the what the values are rather than how we got there, then I know that even if it needs a little bit of tweaking, that we can fix the divide between whether you want to say it's left and right or authority and liberty, whatever it is. Great minds indeed think alike. Well said, sir.
I don't know that I am.
No, my whole life has been devoted to the idea that you simply argue in favor of evidence-based beliefs, and I suppose I'd take a rather sort of take it or leave it attitude. I mean, this is what the evidence shows.
Yeah.
Why don't you believe it? But if you're right about the substitution hypothesis, then I'm rather inclined to give up. I mean, I don't know how to cope with that.
And I can understand why a lot of this is the mindset of many of these atheists who are not your raging leftists. This is the mindset, because morality is gatekept behind Christianity or religion in general. Well, I guess I'm just going to give up and do what feels good. That's how you get this leftism.
I used to think that the one thing that would make me want to die would be if I found myself in a world where I was surrounded by people who no longer believed in evidence and believed in something else other than evidence, somehow felt contempt for evidence.
Who wants to tell them? Who wants to tell them? So let's go back to benign delusions. Maybe the benign delusion that we are not in the world where people don't care about evidence. We are not in the world where people feel contempt for evidence is a benign belief, a benign delusion that we want Richard Dawkins to keep so that he doesn't self-delete. Martian said, Og created morality so people would stop fighting. Well, how's that working out? How's that working out?
And I hope we're not approaching that now. I don't, I mean, none of my friends are like that.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, like, talking about death. As I get older, I've been thinking about my own death. But I wouldn't want someone to be kind to me on my deathbed because they thought that if they weren't kind to me, they were going to go to hell. I would want someone to be kind to me because they wanted to be kind to me.
Yes.
Yep. And this is something Nick talks about all the time, and basically just said it, right? That all of this, like, I want people to be kind. I know that what it's like to be me. I know what pain feels like. I don't like pain. I know what pleasure feels like. I like pleasure. It stands to reason that other people have a similar type of relationship to pain and pleasure. So purely through, purely through logic, I can get to a place where I think this is the way that people should behave. So where's the need for God? Where is the need for God? And I said, no. Idiots think alike. Great minds swim in the same stream. All right, I'll take that. One-upping Dr. Raj Patel. I can't wait. After party, there's a huge inside joke with Dr. Raj, and it's going to be funny. Sorry, that's just distracting me a little bit. But I mean, that's a good one. That one's a good one. Zuby says, humanity are children who have yet to learn to walk. So that sounds a little optimistic. That's, because you don't look at a child who can't walk yet and be like, oh my God, they're never going to walk. They're just not there yet. So are you saying that America is not at the place, or humanity is not at the place where we can get along, according to Og?
Right?
Yes.
And so even this idea that there's this place where people burn or something, like, I want people to be motivated not by something external to themselves, like a reward for being nice.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, so this is one of the things that I've learned from thinking about this stuff for, I don't know, over a quarter century. And I'd love to hear what you think about it.
All right.
So we go around the country, we go around the world, Reed and I go around the world, and we set these lines up. They're lines of tape on sidewalks. I don't know if you've seen me do this or not.
And again, this is exactly what Monday's show was.
And strongly disagree, slightly disagree, neutral. It's like this tablecloth here. Slightly agree, strongly agree. And then we'll ask people a question, like, should there be trans women should be in women's sports, or whatever it is. And one of the things that I've learned, and then we say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, and they walk to a line. And then I do street epistemology on them. I ask them why they believe it, what it would take them to change their mind. Sometimes people change, sometimes people don't. But here's what I've learned about this. And here's what I've learned, a key lesson in my intellectual life from the New Atheist movement, and from speaking to literally tens of thousands of people in prisons, everything, is that people will go to a line not based upon the evidence they have for the line, but they'll go to the line because they think that's the line that they should be standing on that makes them a good person.
What is a woman? What is a woman? Why is this question so prolific? Because of exactly what Peter was just talking about. They don't go to the line they actually believe. They just want to make sure that they signal their virtue. It's not about having conversations. It's not about learning anything about anything. It's about looking good. It's about positive attention. And so when we talk about, is humanity ready? The leaders just suck. I tend to agree with that, because the people are led by the leaders. So if our leaders are driving this type of thinking, why would we expect the populace to think any differently? Oh man, Martian Overlord is running for president of Earth. You got my vote, brother. Nick says, I'm with you because I haven't found a good way to explain to others how I feel morals and reason for life. So if you can figure that out, I would be grateful. I think we mostly agree on what matters. I agree that we agree. And yeah, I mean, it's basically just the notion of the moral landscape. That there, even though morality is subjective, there's nothing about the universe that dictates the laws of what's good and what's not. Once we can understand that, then we can use the chess analogy. That there's no rules inherent to chess in the universe. We made it up. But once we make it up, there are objective moves that are better to help you win the game of chess and are worse to help you win the game of chess. And so once we establish what are we talking about with morality, are we trying to talk about the difference between the greatest suffering for all people and the greatest well-being for all people? Then even if that's not inherent to the universe, then we can all decide as humans that that's the game we want to play. We want to try to get as far away from which hand did I use? As far away from the suffering as we can. We want to get as close to the most well-being for the most people as we can. So once we determine that that's the game, there are indeed objective moves to make that happen. Zippy says the people give power to the leaders. As long as the people comply, the leaders will do whatever. Yep. That's why we need to be leading the people who are picking the leaders. Dan says, I call all the worst moves because I'm ish at chess. Well, I mean, hey, play me. I'm not that good, but we could both get better.
Yes. And it may be the line that is compatible with their political tribe or religious tribe.
Right.
I think Steven Pinker, in his latest book, has evidence that when we make our political judgment, I mean humanity in general, it tends to be not based on evidence, but tends to be based upon tribal loyalty. And that's a very depressing conclusion.
We know that. Indie Villain says, I'm working on my new documentary called What is a Girl? Oh, I cannot wait to review that. So most people get it right, except for Dylan Mulvaney. Oh, man. I lose to you. That's not true. That's not true. Come on, man up. Man up. We're all getting better at chess.
By the way, one of the things that's been depressing me about my being sort of anti-woke and anti the militant trans lobby is that people think I must be right-wing. And I've never been right-wing. I've voted left all my life.
Yeah.
Wait. Right-wing.
And I mean, I detest Donald Trump, for example.
Right.
But there are people out there on Twitter, especially, who think that because I detest Donald Trump, therefore I must be an apologist for trans wokeism or vice versa.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
And that's ironically, because they're so about non-binary, but that is the binary. You're either with us or you're against us. You can't be somebody who doesn't like Trump and also thinks that there's two genders. It just can't happen. You're lying about liking Trump. What?
I think that is an intentional tactic of people. I think that is what woke people use. People who have fallen have had their cognitions hijacked to this ideology, and I think it's very easy to write you off entirely if they say, "Oh, Richard Dawkins, he's just a right-wing extremist." You know, Pinker, he's a right-wing extremist, although he's the second largest donor to the Democrats and Hillary Clinton at Harvard, or whoever it is. I've never voted for a Republican candidate my whole life.
I said, shit, me too. But I did, when I updated my license at the end of the year, I am a registered Republican, mainly because I wanted to be able to vote in the primaries. I mean, hey, if RFK comes out the best one, I am voting Democrat. I am not red or blue, no matter who. I am the person. I'm not even voting, no matter who. I am only going to give my vote. I cherish my vote. Now I do, after, what I done did. Now, you have to earn that vote from me. It's not a given that somebody is going to get the vote. So whoever is the least bad is going to get it. No, that's not how I'm playing this game anymore. If you want a vote from me, then you have to earn it. And right now, the only person who has ever done that, and seems to be the only person who has ever really tried, in terms of my personal, outlook on life and what matters to me is Vivek.
I'm constantly getting that I'm on the right. But I think it's a tactic, both because they don't have to do the intellectual work to rebut the arguments, so they can just a priori say that's not true.
Yep.
And it's a tactic because the left-wing media won't have me on, for example. So the left-wing media it has a kind of allergy to any self-criticism. So then I'll go on the right-wing media,
and then they're like, "You must be right wing." Yeah, that's the semantic trick. Now, this isn't technically semantic obfuscation, as we talk about, where they change the definitions of words to make it easy for them to win these arguments and to make you look like a bigot, regardless of your position, if you disagree with them. But all of this is intentional. It's intentional to get you to comply. And it's a herding tactic to get everybody closer and closer and closer to the same exact idea. Now, we over here, despite the fact that most of us already are at the same point on many of these things, are fighting each other because of how we got to those beliefs or how we got to those values. Meanwhile, on the other side of the aisle, they're like, I don't really care. I'm just whatever you say, I'm going with it. And that's why the right always loses. Anyone says, I like that. Are you a Republican or Democrat? I'm actually non-binary. Oh, that's a good one. I got to use that. Shout out to Vivek. Zippy says left wing is far more evil than right wing, sadly. I mean, it's hard to tell because they are definitely louder than okay, you didn't say far. I mixed it up because you said far more evil. I thought you said far left is worse than far right. And I don't know that that's true. I definitely agree now that I understand. Left wing is definitely far more evil than the right wing. But we do have to understand that what we are seeing when we talk about left wing and specifically right wing, that it's the fringe people. The people on the left who think that all Republicans are this, that, and the other are not talking about people like us. They're talking about, the fringe people who, will vote for Trump despite the fact that who was it? That guy in the Young Turks video is like, oh, if he murdered somebody, I'd still vote for him.
What?
That's a little wild. And then obviously we know on the left, the communist Antifa, all of that stuff. It's equally insane. But the left is way more organized and they have a lot more power. So I will agree. And Unwanted Foe agrees with Indy and goes on to say, we haven't experienced far right without limitation yet. It would probably be messed up too. Oh, it definitely would be. It's just that we've only experienced far left progressives. Yep. Larson said, fringe feathers on the tips of the wings. Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. People, the default liberal people are still down with all the horrible stuff. But if the fringes weren't pushing it, then they wouldn't care. They just think that they have to be part of the team. It's like, oh, we're saying that, men can transform into females. Oh, okay. All right. Word.
And the people on the left will say, well, look, Boghossian's a right winger. Well, no, I'm only going on the right because I'm more than happy. Rachel Maddow nobody's ever invited me. I've actually invited myself and they won't have me. So I think it's
because they're scared, bro. It's because they're scared.
Kind of strategy to not do the intellectual work to rebut the position, because it's hard to rebut the position.
Yeah. If you just shut down the speech, then you don't have to do the work of actually having better ideas. That's we talk about how in economics that we don't really have capitalism as a free market as it's supposed to be, that this crony capitalism and oligopoly, whatever you want to call it, that's what they're trying to do. What they did with the economy, that's what they're trying to do with language. And that's way worse. That's way worse. Zippy says right wing is more indifferent, which makes it better. But they still play get rich quick politics, which is sad. If they were half decent and fair, they'd steamroll the left. I don't know about all that. Because you have to remember that there's a huge difference between your average, Trump voting or Vivek supporting conservative voter and a Mitch McConnell type politician. We still, I mean, the uniparty is still a thing. We're not pretending that there's a good side and a bad side. It's very clear that the uniparty is the uniparty, and they're all working together. So that's kind of a different class. And when you're talking about this kind of stuff, then you're kind of mixing whether the culture aspects of what the voters think and do, and then what the uniparty on either side is doing. You know what I mean? So I think that's, kind of patting yourself on the back a little bit too much, because right-wing politics is awful. It's awful. Nothing gets done, and everything that does get done was proposed by Democrats 10 years ago. So, and I don't know that indifferent is even a good thing. I don't want people to be indifferent. I want people to care. I want us to care about our countrymen. I want us to care about all the things that I keep talking about, these American values. It's that indifference that is allowed because, like, oh no, the thing that we really care about is religion. That this indifference allows the people to act on the left to act like, well, we really care. You don't care about anything. You'll just do na. But I care about the children, and I care about the environment, and I care about this. So even if I was to agree, I don't know if that makes it better. Martian said the right protects the crown, the left burns it down. That's the extremes of history. Interesting. Well said. Zuby said, does it matter if the politicians were more decent and fair and less a drone of big biz? It would steamroll the left. That's a little bit better. Daniel said, how dare you, all of you, bigots. Nick says, if the far right got to go too far, it would probably be that the Indian Jesus and I would be burned at the stake. Facts. I got tattoos. I got the long hair, smoke weed, all this stuff. I don't want a far right government anymore. Yeah, any more than I want a far left government.
So, we've been talking about the trans thing, and the main problem, I think it is the main problem I have, is I don't think children under 18 can consent to, Luprin or surgery or what Abigail Schreier calls irreversible damage. And I just spoke to Helen Joyce about this. She's from England. She's originally from Ireland. Yeah, she's trans. It's great. And I just spoke to her about this. So one of the things that she said in that interview that I was like, wow, I just literally never thought of it before.
Wow.
She said, so I always took the figure of 0.06, that 0.06% of the people were legitimately trans, and anything above that is a social contagion, right? It's kind of, but she said, no, that's not true. The whole thing is a culture-bound syndrome.
Oh, the whole thing is that social contagion. I'm very curious what you guys think about that. Let's just say, is trans. I'm just going to put it like that. But is this idea of changing your gender and your different gender identity, you could be born in the wrong body, gender dysphoria, all of that stuff. That's what is going into this poll as trans. Is trans completely a social contagion? Let me know what you think. Replay gang, hit me in the comments. Is the whole trans movement entirely and completely a social contagion? Zippy says therein lies the rub. If they were pushy like the Dems, it's more dogmatic nonsense like the left. So both would be equally bad. Well, there's like a 1 or 2% difference in them now. I mean, I guess if we're splitting hairs, I definitely am for the right over the left. But let's do better. Let's do better. That's why Trump is at this point appealing to me, and that's why I prefer Vivek over Trump. But absolutely, I would vote for Trump at this point. Nick says, I'm Republican, always have been, but I want common sense good for the majority. I want common sense good for the majority thing to be how the country works. Common sense for the majority. Yeah, I'm with that. Martian says trans actions aren't unknown in nature. Tell me more about that. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Indie Film says, I don't know what you're saying because the farthest right is anarchy, and then you have libertarianism before that. The KKK are a product of the left. Yeah, but in an anarchistic society where everybody believes that you have to be religious or you're a bad person, then me and Nick And Martian, we are gone.
Like all of it. And it really gave me pause. And I thought, well, I thought the idea was that there was something operative in people's brains, the whole born in the wrong body. And she said, no, it's just not true.
I see. Well,
Wow.
long ago, when it came out, I read Jan Morris.
Oh, Jan Morris, yeah.
Jan Morris's book Conundrum, where she was
Let's get a look at that. Conundrum by Jan Morris.
a
Check it out.
journalist, and she was the only journalist, I think, on the original expedition that climbed Everest.
Yeah.
She didn't climb Everest, but in those days, James Morris was the journalist. And then she wrote this book explaining how she really did feel that she was a woman trapped in a man's body, and I was sympathetic to that.
Was she though? I wanted to know, I'm not sure, is this a question or if this is a statement? Can it be 100% social when birth defects can change potentially anything, including how your brain processes information? So it sounds like you're saying, no, it can't be, because the processes could theoretically be that you believe you are a woman if you were born a man. But if that's what you were saying, then my response to that is, how do you know what it's like to be a woman? Maybe you feel something is wrong, but for you to say, no, what I feel that is wrong is my gender. What are you using for a frame of reference to know that? Martian said, when you observe a population of an animal, when the population reaches a point when herbivores start clearing the dirt, or hunts run slim for carnivores, same-sex couples can happen. Right, but that's not trans, that's gay. Right? So remember that being, homosexuality and the LG and B is about who you want to be in the bedroom with, and the T and all that other stuff is about who you are inside and well, I guess who you are externally, but it's identity versus your preferences.
It seemed to me to be well argued. She's a very good writer, and she went through a tremendous ordeal. I mean, with hormone treatment and surgery and things as an adult. I think she had a sort of journey of about 10 years or maybe even longer.
Wow. 10 years. 10 years. And who thinks that he's just telling this story, and at the end, he's going to be like, and it turns out that she's so happy. She's so happy now. Probably not, right? 10 years of all of that, going through this, thinking that you're on track to get to this goal of, I'm going to finally feel okay. I'm going to do irrevocable things to my body, and then I will be okay. And then you're not. Zippy says, I'm not saying gay and trans are anything bad, but we have jumped the gun and are trying to turn men into women for reasons. True. Unwanted Foe said, with intersex, as they have both at birth, and the doctor deals with one, I can see that small number as feeling something as it's what they originally had. But again, how do you know? They're making that decision, and usually it's not much of a decision. What is it? It's not Klinefelters. That's something different, right? Or is it what? But either way, when you're born intersex, the overwhelming majority of people who are born intersex are not like 50-50. They are male with, some female aspects, or they are basically female with, some male aspects. And so usually the surgery is to just, pull them 100% into where they're already leaning. There are a few situations where, someone's right down the middle, but we see that even, making that decision isn't necessarily, that in those situations it could, like with the John Money situation and the twins, and one of them, they castrated at birth, and, self-deletion and all that stuff. So yes, this can happen, but this is such an anomalous situation that it's almost irresponsible. It's almost irresponsible to act as if this is a relevant part of the discussion. I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about this, but when we're talking about how do we determine what is the frame of reference for understanding you're in the wrong body, to talk about this small number of people who still, at the point when they are born, do not have the experience of being the other sex. All they have is their own experience. So again, you can feel weird. You can be a woman who feels more masculine. You can all of these things, but you cannot know any more than you can know what it's like to be a dog. You can't know what it's like to be the opposite sex. As much as you know what it's like to be my vape, you know what it's like to be the opposite sex. And I could go on and on and on. It's just a fallacious starting point. I feel like a woman. Okay, how do you know what it is to feel like a woman? Marcia said, true, but when males act feminine and females act butch or masculine, if we're being respectful, it's basically gender identity. They're just not pretentious about it. Yeah, that's how it's worked for the last a bajillion years. That, you know, if you're just a little bit of a prissy boy, then you're a little bit of a prissy boy. If you're a little bit of a tomboy, then you're a little bit of a tomboy. And everybody moves on with their life. And if that affects your sexuality and you want to be a twink and do the do with other dudes, you can do that. And if you want to be a butch lesbian and you want to go do whatever with it, that's fine. But upending the truth, upending what we understand as reality, is not an equal trade-off for that. I mean, does anybody disagree with that? Daniel said, I know what it is to feel like a woman because I've listened to that one Shania Twain song. I mean, that's about as much as any other trans person, right? Amon Defoe said, then bored people took that idea and wanted the attention it brought. Yup. Because I think that people can honestly believe they were born in the wrong body, but I don't think that's actually the case. That's exactly what I'm saying, brother. Exactly what I'm saying. Zippy say, I'd say gender identity is a preference, but it just means, okay, yes, that, well, no, it's, according to them, it wouldn't be. According to them, it's not a preference. It is just the way you are. So let me finish reading this. I'd say gender identity is a preference, but it just means you are trans, etc., not a new, trans or etc., not a new gender, not the opposite gender. You are just you. This is the way I wish. This is the way I wish that it worked. That if you're a man, and you like pink and sparkles and dresses and whatever, and nobody has to pretend that you're a woman. You can just be a guy who likes that stuff, and nobody has to have a problem with it. Be you. Be comfortable in your own skin. That's what I thought the LGBT movement was all about when it started. And I think it was. But then it changed. And so now they're saying, you know, this is how it should be, Zippy. But they're, you know, saying your gender identity is preference is transphobic. According to them, it's not a preference. It's the way that you were born. And then, of course, you know, we know about the neo-pronouns and the non-binary and stuff. Respect is a social construct. Is it? I guess it. I mean, no, it's not. It's a clear set of behaviors. Is that what a social construct means? Screw me up with this one, Martian. Zibby said progressivism is all about attention for profit. Yup. We cannot have men in dresses being normal because of religion. Both old and new, the woke. Yeah, the old, you have to be your traditional male, and the new woke ideology, if you act like a woman, but you're a man, then you're trans. Well said. Well said. I want to vote that I have no pronouns. I don't use pronouns. I don't use any pronouns for me. All right, bro. I got you, dude.
So I sort of feel you have to respect somebody who sacrifices so much for that belief. Whereas people who just suddenly say, I think I'll be a man or a woman.
Especially after...
Okay, he cleared that up. He cleaned that up. Because I was going to say, because remember, he was talking about this woman who, or this person, I don't really remember, that went through 10 years of all of this stuff and saying that there's a certain level of respect that you're going to go, that the person has this level of conviction versus the dude who just proclaims, I'm now non-binary and I deserve everything that women have. So I'll give him that. I'll give him that. Let's actually get the, because it seems like this is going somewhere. Let's back to this.
Hormone treatment and surgery and things as an adult. I think she had a sort of journey of about 10 years or maybe even longer. So I sort of feel you have to respect somebody who sacrifices so much for that belief. Whereas people who just suddenly say, I think I'll be a man or a woman.
Especially after they see the inside of the court and they've been sentenced as guilty.
Oh yeah, what is it? The POGN, prison onset gender dysphoria, POGD. They have a name for it now, of people who are going to jail and then decide, oh wait a minute, I'm a woman now, so I need to go into the woman's prison. Prison onset gender dysphoria. Zippy says, go back 50 to 70 years. Respect is only given to certain demographics. Respect is very much normality or whatever the collective things, thus a social construct. All right, I stand corrected. Marston said, when I was a kid, I thought there was a prescribed process for a sex change. Well, there is. It's just that they don't follow it. You're supposed to be going through intensive talk therapy for a long time. Then you do a social transition while you're still going through therapy. Then you go down the road of taking the hormone blockers or whatever it is. And then if you want the surgery, so on and so forth. But as we've seen many people say, 30 minutes at their first appointment at the doctor, and they were getting a prescription for hormones, for puberty blockers, for this, for that. And within a very, I don't remember exact timeline, but within a very short amount of time, getting the recommendation for double mastectomies and all this stuff. There is a prescribed process. They just don't follow it.
Right.
Yes. Or that 6'2" swimmer who
Leah Thomas.
Leah
She
Thomas.
was intact. So Leah Thomas had her penis, and my understanding is when Leah Thomas, I don't even know the pronouns, but when Leah Thomas was in the shower, there it was dangling out.
How dare
So
you?
there is something
Dangling
about, so you want to be compassionate, you want to be sympathetic. In a liberal society, you want to let people live the kind of lives they want to live and have all the rights they want to have.
Exactly. And this is something I said on Monday as well, that it's not a lot of times when you hear people on the right or just on the non-woke side of this say, well, I don't care what you do. I don't care what you do. I do care what you do. I very much care what you do. And I very much care about your happiness. I very much care about my community. I very much care about my country and my countrymen and women and other. But the idea that you can live in a society where you can express yourself and be happy, that is something that I do want for everybody, even if it's something that I find to be weird, as long as you are not pushing it on other people, specifically children. Zippy the Strange said, normality and morality is what the collective says it is. I'd rather define humanity by averages, since despite the news, humans are not so bad. Definitely a good point to keep in mind through any of this stuff. You know, a lot of times we're talking about what's wrong with this, what's wrong with that, what's going on here, why are they doing this? But it is important to remember that these are fringes. We are only hearing about these people because they are not the average person. I love that. We need more white pilling. So drop those white pills in the chat. Thank you, Zippy. He says, dangling out. Huh? Do I have a good sound effect for dangling out? No, I don't. Except for that one. Dangling out. Hey, liberals have seem to have issues with consent. Uh-oh. Dr. Raj Patel says, as a proctologist, I can assure you that Leah Thomas is not a woman. Well, thank you for your expertise. Though I do think we could all figure that out without expertise. But now we have a certified doctor here saying not a woman. Thank you, sir. Nick says, funny how if we were woke, it would already be a fight over who misgendered who. But we are mostly agreeing and are at least civilized to each other. That's because we care about having conversations. We care about fixing the country. We care about something other than enriching our own lives through the attention economy that we see. That's why. Well said, Nick. Daniel says, I very much care about what you put in my child's head. Other than that, you do you. Leave my kid out of it.
Bingo!
It's that simple. It's that simple. Like, how do people not understand that this is all most people want? That's all we want. Leave us alone. Do you over there and just keep it over there. We're not even saying don't do it. A lot of people are, but I'm not. If you want to go trans yourself, go trans yourself. Just leave me and my family and all of the children out of it. Martian Overlord said the Martians evolved beyond gender. Well, I mean, do they say that? Because I know a lot of people, well, I don't know them, but I bet a lot of people on TikTok would say humans evolved beyond gender too. But definitely have not.
But with that said, that there do seem to be some, like Kathleen Stock, I was talking to her today, women's only spaces. There is something, there's a prudence and a wisdom in that. And to me, it's never been about people who are, I don't want to say actually trans, because I don't even know what that means, but it's that people can claim to be trans to access women's only spaces to abuse women.
And Dr. Roger Salas says, I sure wish they would have left my kids out of it. Yeah. And it's starting to get to the place where I think they are going to start wishing that they left the kids out of it, because that is what emboldened everybody on this side of the issue to be like, hey, whoa, 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 whoa. Before that, it was all about like, okay, yeah, there was bigots, and then there was people who, weren't concerned. And then there was people who, were on that side. But that was a very small group, and they were, self-contained. And it was fine. For years after, a lot of people like to say that the slippery slope started with gay marriage. And I don't accept that. I don't accept that, because there was a long period after that where we didn't see an uptick in the indoctrination. It was very much about, I just want to do me, leave me alone. And you still see a lot of those gay couples who are like, yo, we fought to be left alone, and now the T's, you're all thrusting us back in the limelight in a bad way. Like, we fought and we won, so leave it. But hey, but did they do you have experience with this ideology being soiled into your children's minds? Because if so, I'm very sorry to hear. Martian Overlord said, we went single cell after we wrecked the planet. Fair enough.
So get swimming records.
Yeah, to break records.
To break records and become a swimming champion.
Yeah.
Yes, but there are people
totally worth
they may be
upending
deluded,
reality.
but at least they've been through hell to get there. And as adults too, not seduced as children by doctors who.
So that's.
I don't know if I want to co-sign this idea that, like, well, at least some people, went through the process, because then that kind of says, okay, well, you're not really trans unless you do this, that, or the other. And because we know that so many of these people are not really trans, that it might it might encourage people to be like, okay, well, I'm not really trans because I just socially transition. I just wear different clothes and call myself a different name. So maybe I do actually have to go get the surgery. So I'm a little bit cautious when it comes to this idea of respecting the person who's gone further into their delusion than others. I don't know if that is the right perspective that I would agree with, but I mean, it definitely speaks to the commitment a lot more. But again, is that even relevant? Zuby said, nah, it started with Christian dogma excluding random people for reasons, creating eons of resentment and ill will. I mean, you're not going to get an argument from me on that one. 100% agree. Nick agrees with Daniel 100%. Parents should have rights to teach their children, obviously, unless they are harming them, but that should go without saying. But you aren't asking anything crazy. Yeah, I mean, I just did the video yesterday about Eugenia Cooney, and I mean, now she's 29, so she's not even a child anymore. But the issues of her mom, she's super anorexic and she's an online influencer, and it's bad news all around. And like her whole fan base is desperately trying to get her help. And it's clear that her mom has Munchausen by proxy and is trying to get her own attention and own fame by turning her daughter into this stickly caricature of a person. In the same way that Dylan Mulvaney turned himself into a caricature of a person, that's what this girl's mom did. And now she's 29, so it's not like she's a young child. It's not like we can, send, CPS or whatever in there. That's just her life now. That's just her life. And it's very important that when Emma Vigilant was on the Culture War, that they brought up this idea about, are you for parental rights or not? It's like, okay, well, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. Parental rights are a reflection of your morality. Do you think that, whatever it is, you can take it too far in any direction? Well, are you for parental rights or not? Yeah, I'm for parental rights. Oh, so then you think that if a mother wants to let her child get her arms cut off, then she should be able to do that? That's parental rights. Or if you say, no, that I don't think that, just because a parent wants it, they should be able to do whatever they want to the child. It's like, oh, so you don't believe that children have any rights? It's a semantically obfuscated conversation.
It's the moral thing, right? So this is the thing that I'm thinking about the trans issue. So somebody who is adamant and so, trans women are women, period, trans women are women. And from that, it follows that they should be able to compete alongside NATO women in sporting events.
NATO women? Is that what we're saying now? I'm just going to stick with women.
What I do not think is happening is the belief was formed on any, rigorous epistemology, evidence-based epistemology. Like, in other words, I don't think that they did a careful examination of the evidence and concluded that either the differences were trivial or there were no differences. I think that they formed the belief that trans women, and I always have to, I translate the word trans in my head as fake.
Oh, trans equals fake. That was a bar. I don't think he knew it, but that was a bar.
Because I get mixed up by the words. That
fake.
Trans women, NATO men should participate in women's sports on moral grounds. So there's no evidence that you can get. It's like,
wait.
I always have to, I translate the word trans in my head as fake because I get mixed up by the words. That trans women, NATO men,
so biological men
should participate in women's sports.
Biological men should be in women's sports
on moral grounds. So there's no evidence that you can get. It's like the line thing where you stand on the line. There's no evidence that you can give them a tensile strength or cardiovascular, whatever the evidence would be, because the moral intuition or the moral sentiment would override any consideration of evidence. So then how do you're talking about a competing battle of morals. And I guess that kind of gets back to the substitution hypothesis. Like, wouldn't we rather have people in society? Okay, again, we would rather nobody have any delusion.
Come on, if it is you're getting right there.
Case that people are that delusion is the default, then I don't want to say we should nudge them to benign delusions, but it would be certainly better for everybody if they had more benign delusions.
Yes. I hope the substitution hypothesis is wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's right, I kind of wasted my life really, because I've been simply trying to persuade people to be influenced by evidence.
It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that this man thinks that. Can you imagine? Can you imagine dedicating your entire life to a process, to a value that you believe is higher than anything else, and then thinking it's wasteful at this age? I think he's like 70-ish, maybe 70, like in his 70s. But he's wrong. He is one of the major reasons that I'm here right now. And he's one of the major reasons that my messaging of the American identity, reinvigorating the American identity, is going to fix this country. So no, sir, you did a great service to the world and to this nation.
And if that's a lost battle,
I don't think it is.
There you go.
But here, so let me throw this out to you.
So let's see what Zippy says. This is why going by averages is a good thing. You treat trans as a personal right and move on. Thus, a man in a dress is a man. To be fair to sports, a lot of it can be shut down by skill matching. Talk to me a little bit more about what you mean by skill matching. And I think I understand what you mean by, against event. Blah, blah, blah. Essentially, the categorizing by skill. But how do you think that would work out? Like, I mean, how do you think that would be organized? Martian Overlord says the pendulum swings further and further. That is why we need to be paying attention to where is it swinging, how fast is it swinging, and as I've been saying, I think it is swinging very far to the left, but it's reaching that point. I still think it's called the fulcrum, but I don't care to look it up, where it's suspended and things are what they are, and then things are going to swing back the other direction. And I want us to be sitting right here and catch that damn pendulum so it doesn't keep swinging back and forth. As we were just talking, a right wing. I'm thinking back on what Indy said before, that right wing is anarchy, and that's a different axis. So if we remember, do I still have the thing here? The political compass test has two different axes. It has left and right, and it has authoritarianism and libertarian. So those are two different things. Now, I didn't think of that before. But point being, we want to make sure that whether you're conservative, whether you're libertarian, whether you're an anarchist, whatever, that we are paying attention to the trends so that we can be aware of what is happening and where we want it to stop. We can see, okay, coming up is going to be, this is what's going to happen, and we want to stay there. So when that stuff happens, let's support that. And then as soon as it goes past it, be like, nope, this is our red line. This is our red line. Know what we want to where we want that pendulum to stop.
Do you think the best way to persuade people to be influenced by evidence is that that act itself makes them a better person? So in other words, could you use a moral argument to persuade somebody to be influenced by evidence?
So he's saying if being persuaded by evidence is the godly thing, then that gives people a reason to want to be influenced by evidence rather than faith and dogma. Interesting. I don't know how that would work out, but I would answer yes. That is definitely a good avenue to try if we know how. So Zippy on skill matching says skill matching would simply base things on player performance. In theory, if they want to do gender mixing in small batches, since there's only so many males that can match female levels. No, I mean, I don't, but like that would just end up with men and women with a few exceptions. And I'm not necessarily against that idea that it would, work itself out. It's the principle that, number one, it would end up essentially exactly where we are. And two, that it's based on a false premise that trans women are women. Zippy says they need, you guys are talking to yourself. All right.
Because what seems to not work is, and I think our friend Sam Harris has said this, that there's no evidence that you can give someone to persuade them to formulate their beliefs on the basis of evidence. So maybe you have a different tack.
Yes, it would never occur to me to try to use a moral argument. I mean, I think I would prefer to go for science and say science is wonderful. Yeah. And science is poetic. Science is something that you really can devote your life to and feel fulfilled. And
as you have.
Well, yes, and so plenty of other people have. I mean, any scientist would probably say something like that. And really, the strides that humanity has made in science, in evidence-based, reality-based view of the world, is staggeringly impressive.
We have made no strides through self-delusion.
No.
No delusions have cured cancer, given us the CPU.
Nope. So this will be going on about the skill matching. If people know the averages, then they can't deny them. Thus, a male who's labeled as a woman would be playing against the men more than not. A male who's labeled, so we'd be playing against the men more than not. Yeah, I mean, again, but like that's already, I guess that's not already what we have. It's just, I mean, that's like the what it would take to actually enact that and be like, okay, NFL, we're now going to determine these are the statistics. These are the skills that we're going to measure. These are how we're going to measure them. Now we have to measure each skill individually for each person and then base that on that. So then what happens if you get better? Then do you go into another league? What if you get better in a week? Then what if you get worse? Then I understand that gender is somewhat arbitrary. But it's an arbitrary line that we use because it makes sense. And and I'm not saying you're not making sense. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you're not making sense. But this is very much a complicated way to say that we want things the way that they are with a few exceptions. How about if you're an exception, you just got to be an exception. What matters more to you? Being a swimmer or being a woman? Is that so insensitive? That we don't want you to upend reality because you want to change your gender and be a swimmer? Just seems a little selfish. Martian Overlord said there's no rule against no rule in the NFL against women playing. That is true. Yep. I think there was one female kicker once, but surprise, surprise, she missed the kick.
Sent us a rocket ship to Mars.
That's right. I mean, and those are all sort of practical things, but also just understanding the size and shape and scope of the universe and time and space and the origin of all things and evolution. It's just amazing what a privilege it is to live in a world after Newton and Darwin and Max Planck, and to understand the universe in which you live. And that's a wonderful, almost a spiritual experience.
Absolutely, it's a spiritual experience. The awe that you feel when you do anything that is spiritually fulfilling, whether it has to do with religion or not. Maybe you're in a cathedral singing hymns with everybody, and you get this feeling of awe. That you're part of something bigger. Maybe you're at some EDM concert and you're tripping balls on Molly, and you feel that awe. Maybe you're just out in nature, and you spend a lot of your time in the city or indoors or whatever. That feeling of awe is, I mean, unless anybody disagrees, I think that is what is meant by spirituality. And again, it's the church, it's religion that has gatekept spirituality. That like, oh, if you feel spiritual, then it must mean that it's from God. Does it though? Because I don't think so. Zippy says tribalism is a spiritual experience. I guess so. Martian said attribution matters. Reasons become complaints because excuses become excuses and become reasons again. Most atrocities of today could be traced back to good intentions from the past. Road to hell, right? The road to hell.
And it's so much grander and so much bigger and so much more worthwhile.
What? Than saying, oh, a guy in the sky said, boom, and now everything is perfect. Yeah, I agree.
Than petty little concerns.
Yeah, you'll get no argument from me. So I guess just my question to you, let's say that you make that argument to somebody. Let's say that you make that argument to an administrator at an institution or at an institutional level. And
fired.
It's a lovely argument. It's well articulated. It resonates with some people.
Right to jail.
And I'm telling you, one thing I have in my mind is when I was teaching, I tried to get a science and pseudoscience class in the K through 12 system, and there was a single slide that my team had put on, and it was about homeopathy, and they gave the presentation at two high schools, and both administrators from the high school said, "Oh, you can't put that in there." The slide basically said there's just no evidence for this. It didn't say, you know, it phrased it in the most polite way possible, like, this is not evidence, don't do this. And when the people from my team asked why, they said, well, people will be offended by that.
Oh,
People will be offended. We don't want to offend the parents who use homeopathy. But my point to you was that so
Homeopathy.
let's say
Dr. Raj, how do you feel about homeopathy?
that we want people to discover a love for science and a passion for evidence-based epistemology. I know this is a weird question, but
Ooh, I love weird questions. All right, bring it.
if you cannot persuade them by evidence and wonder at the universe and the instrumental use of technology for human beings, whether it's, curing cancer, what have you.
And that was my naive belief as I was coming out, when I was on this journey, and I'm coming to the idea that, yes, indeed, I am an atheist. And not only am I an atheist, but I believe that religion is harmful enough to society that I need to do something about it. That I was trying to make those arguments based on the logic of my own thinking. And I was so fresh out of the perspective of believing in God and not being able to fathom that there would be no God, that I didn't do a good job. And I was very angry, and it just didn't work. So probably not the best way to go about things.
By evidence and wonder at the universe and the instrumental use of technology for human beings, whether it's, curing cancer, what have you. Do you think that the moral argument is the way to go to persuade them?
Do you think the moral argument is the way to go to persuade them? No, because as I just said, I tried that. And people are very stuck in their beliefs, whether it's religion or otherwise. So I'm still today, right now, trying to learn and tighten up the way. What is the best way to try to persuade people that my approach is better and also not in conflict with your faith? But the morality argument is not it. Zippy said, given how much of a melting pot of trade and peoples, it matters a little. What am I missing? It matters a little as long as you have the same idea. That's not a word.
well, I haven't quite grasped what you would mean by moral argument.
Like, you should do good people formulate your beliefs on the basis of evidence. If you formulate your beliefs on the basis of evidence, you're more likely to construct something outside yourself to bring about your flourishing and your own community's flourishing. Formulating your beliefs, therefore, something like a quick syllogism, formulating your beliefs on the basis of evidence is the moral thing to do.
Because if you formulate it on the basis of non-evidence, you might end up
Right.
planting a bomb to
Correct.
kill
Exactly.
infidels.
So if you're basing your actions on the dogma, whether it be this one or that one, if you're basing your actions on dogma, then it is possible, it is not necessary, but it's possible that you inadvertently, with good intentions, do things that end up hurting society. So it is the more moral approach to living to look at what is evidence-based. Because as you said, if you, let's see that part. Yeah.
Evidence, you might have,
Evidence is the moral thing to do.
because if you formulate it on the basis of non-evidence, you might end up planting a bomb to kill infidels.
Correct.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Because those self-deletion bombers, they think that they are doing something good. They think they are doing something moral. They think they are helping people who are living in a certain way. They're helping them get to paradise. So this goes back to the idea of benign beliefs. What is a benign belief? I don't know that there is one. Certainly not in the realm of religion, because everything drives our actions. And incorrect beliefs will when we're playing that game of we're suffering for all people and greatest well-being for all people, when you're playing that game, if you're not basing the choices you make on logic and evidence, then it's almost guaranteed that with good intentions, you're going to make the wrong choice. Shout out to Ayush. Welcome to the party. Good to see ya. Said, what's the objective good accounting to you?
What?
The objective good accounting? I don't know. Can you ask this in a different way? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. If the poetry of reality fails to persuade people, do you think it's...
Oh, what's the objective according to you? The objective of what? It depends on what we're talking about. The objective in so the objective for this channel is to build back the bridge between what is the objective? Good. Okay. All right. We're all over the place. One for one. Okay. So what is the objective good according to you? I don't think there is an objective good. That's the whole point. The whole point is that there is nothing in the universe that is objectively the moral. There is nothing that is objectively the right thing. We make it up. This, again, the same way that there is no inherent to the universe way to play chess. It's just a thing that we made up. And so there's ways to behave that will lead to a more flourishing society or a worse society. And so once we agree that that is the game we're playing. So once we agree that we're playing the game of trying to get away from the worst possible suffering for all people and get closer to the most well-being for all people, then that's the objective, to get get the most well-being for the most people possible. Nick says, that's why I think religion came after morals, not religion created morals. Absolutely. Timmy says, Martian is saying Christians learn everything from Jews, not seeing it since like theories and stories were everywhere in the region. Okay. What?
What do you think of them using the moral argument to persuade people to formulate their beliefs on the basis of evidence, or is that just a silly question?
It wouldn't. No, it's not. It wouldn't be my way. I prefer to go the Carl Sagan route, and to try to persuade people of how wonderful science is. And of course, you come up against, you get pushback from people who say, well, science gave us the H-bomb and things like that. Right.
Or the people who are like, science can't tell you how the universe got here, so it must be God.
You have to reply to that. By the way, on homeopathy, it's not just that there's no evidence for it. There couldn't be evidence for it. Right. Because if you imagine doing a double-blind trial with a control and an experimental, they're identical. And so there can be no evidence for it.
Yeah, they'd be identical. You know, we did this video in which, so this you're the perfect person to ask for this. So we did this video and one of the people said that there's no difference between natal men and natal women. They're identical. And if you look at the bones, if you look at the skeletons of natal women and natal men, you couldn't tell the difference. You want
well, I mean,
it really, that's all you can do. It's just laugh. It's like, what do you want from me? I mean, do you think the earth is flat too? There's I don't know how many years of science upon science upon science upon science that's peer reviewed and redone and replicated that very clearly we can tell the difference. Not sometimes just by looking. Just by looking, the naked eye, you can tell the difference between a female skeleton and a male skeleton. Not always, but there are clear differences. And if you can't eyeball it, then on a molecular level, they're different. I said, well, there is a problem. There is a problem we have then. If it's relative, how can you argue someone to follow your definition of good? Others will have their definitions of good. Yeah, absolutely. And when somebody has a better definition than mine, then I'll say, okay, you win. But I have yet to find that person. And I am out here. I am calling all cars. Anybody anybody out there, if you have better ideas than mine, please come and tell me. I don't want to be walking around with the wrong ideas. Please come and tell me. And until then, and when they do come, then I will happily be listening to them. And anything that I believe now that they have reason, they give me reason to not believe or to change, I will change that. Just as I have been doing for the last 15 years of my life. Only publicly in the last 5 whatever or so. But it's not a problem. It's not a problem at all. As long as we are willing to listen to each other. As long as we are willing to say, okay, what is your definition of good? Okay, my definition of good is this. And they're different. Okay, so let's play that out. If your definition of good is this, then how does that play out? My definition of good is this. How does that play out? And obviously, we don't have a crystal ball. But if we can reasonably see that, again, we're playing that game of worst suffering for all people and best well-being for all all people, if that's the game we're playing, then objectively we'll be able to see, okay, your idea of good only gets us this far away from the suffering, whereas my idea of good gets us a lot closer to well-being. Or my idea is pretty good, but yours is better. It's that simple. The same way you figure out what is good for any other aspect of your life. What is a good way to make chicken parm? Do you use the eggs first, or do you put the flour first? Well, some people are going to say flour. Some people are going to say eggs. The only way is to make it and then see which one is better. It's not to say, I don't need to try to use breadcrumbs on my chicken parm because God told me that the best chicken parm has no breadcrumbs. Okay, it's fine if you believe that, but I believe something different. So why don't we do both? Why don't we test these ideas and see who actually has the better chicken parm? And obviously, just replace chicken parm with morality. It's that simple. Nick says, I agree with that. What do you agree with? Saying to Zippy, Martian Overlord says, I don't blame Jewish people for anything, but I don't believe that there is a holy people. So I don't give a blank check immunity from criticism. Fair. And Nick says, I agree with that. I don't dislike any group. I just don't like the bad people in every group. Yep. I mean, definitely well put. So Zippy says, there's nothing wholly unique about the Talmud. Christians took the same information from the region and shaped their religion differently. It feels like much of the changes in Christianity was that it desperately was trying to find a place in the market. Yeah, because it's not the best idea, but because of the dogma, we're still dealing with it. This is the situation. This is what Zippy just said. That it feels like chicken parm is probably better with breadcrumbs, but because the dogma says that you don't use breadcrumbs, then they're trying to say no. It says in this book chicken parm is better without any breadcrumbs. Of course, I use breadcrumbs. Come on. What are you saying? No breadcrumbs on your chicken parm. That's not chicken parm. Martian Overlord said, after people die, it's like Wheel of Fortune. After you speak a monologue about life, and then you get reincarnated for the next lesson. Well, again, I mean, if that is so that's a perfect example of a belief system. So let's say that is what you believe. And actually, no, that doesn't I'm just thinking about the difference in if this is your worldview, well, I'm doing good. I'm doing what I believe is moral because I want to have a better life when I'm reincarnated. Versus the person who is just, hey, I'm here and you're here, so let's just do what is the best for all of us. Zippy says Martin Luther's Reformation, all the same, to either break away from the corruption or seek out a new prophet, or both. Aish says, but you're using something to compare the ideas. I'm hearing you use worst suffering for all people and best well-being for all people as your metric. What if someone rejects this metric in their minds? The best for them alone is more valuable to them, and they're justified in causing harm for their well-being. If we're not talking about how we move away from this metric, if we're not talking about how to move away from the worst suffering and how to move towards the best well-being for as many people, then I don't know what we're talking about. I don't know what the topic of the conversation is. If we're talking about morality and you have a different definition of morality, then we're not talking about the same thing. And I'm not saying you personally, but if somebody's saying, well, morality is what God says, well, then we're not talking about the same thing, because God said a lot of things that didn't really work out well for a lot of people. And you're okay if you want to believe that. But so then it goes back to your original question about, the so-called problem. Well, then, okay, let's say whatever God says is good, and whatever God says bad is bad. Let's play that out. Then let's try to work on the metrics that I'm talking about and see which is going to be a better society. Guess which one is going to win? There's a reason we have Western values that we ignore the Old Testament. Zippy says, well, starting out, Christianity did not have much dogma. Really? Because it had no real following. It gained dogma as it grew. At the start, it had female church leaders and pastors. No, sir. The basis of Christianity is that Jesus was God's only begotten son, sent to earth through a virgin and sacrificed for all of our sins. Can you prove that could or could not happen? Or do you just have to accept that? That is what dogma means. That is the dogma, that you believe that Jesus Christ did come down, was sent by a God, was born to a virgin, did give his life, that sacrifice absolves you of your sins, so on and so forth. Those are all dogmatic ideas. Unless you can show me where the skepticism is allowed, where you can be a Christian and still not believe those things, then I'll take that back. But no, that dogma is the whole thing. Morrison Overlord says, that's the trick. If you don't speak good lessons, you can get a worse incarnation. You can't lie to existence. See the Red Dwarf series, episode 5, The Inquisitor. I'll take your word for it. Ayush says, so that means best well-being for all people is your objective good, then? No? Well, yes. Yeah, that's my objective good. I don't believe it's objective to the universe, but I believe that the best well-being for all people is objectively good, given we are playing this game of morality, trying to get to well-being. It's like again, if we use the chess example, so if we're saying that the objective is to check the king. Yes, if we agree that we're playing chess. If we're playing checkers, then that's not what the objective is. So I think we're on the same page. I just let me know if you have, because I feel like we're getting closer and closer. So let me, please, the questions are more than welcome.
Archaeologists can tell by they're digging up bones that have been dead for tens of thousands of years.
Right. So I unfortunately, this conversation was off camera, but I said to this guy, I said, listen, let's say that we get 10 skeletons right here. We have 10 skeletons, and we do a double blind. We find, paleontologists, we find whoever would be a bona fide expert in this. And if all 10 of these people could correctly identify each time with a very small margin of error, would you be willing to change your mind and say, yes, there's a difference between male and female skeletons?
I want to hear that one again. I'm going to get to you guys got some good comments here, and I want to pay attention to them, but this seems like an interesting question. So let's run it back just a sec.
Paleontologists and we get 10, it was off camera, but I said to this guy, I said, listen, let's say that we get 10 skeletons right here.
So we have 10 skeletons laid out.
We have 10 skeletons, and we do a double blind. We find, paleontologists, we find whoever would be a bona fide expert in this. And if all
Okay.
10 of these people could correctly identify each time with a very small margin of error, would you be willing to change your mind and say, yes, there's a difference between male and female skeletons? And
Okay. He's just saying this is what he would present, like in the situation of the street epistemology, that if they believe that there's no difference between male and female skeletons, then he would bring up this situation that, okay, if we have 10 different skeletons and we had 100 bona fide experts and they all had essentially the same results, would that change your mind? That is what he's asking. Okay, I misunderstood. So let's get to some of these before we go back and answer his question. Is this me? Boys for the dwarf? Is that for me? That better not be for me. I'm not a dwarf. So he says, yes, but it did not have many rules, i.e. dogma. That's not what dogma means, sir. Rules are the tenets. So the tenets, like the 10 commandments, the love thy neighbor, like these things are tenets. These are not a dogma in themselves. The adherence to them, the idea that you have to do that because God said, and there's no questioning that. That part is the dogma. That part is the dogma. So the rules are dogmatic in the sense that you can't question them, but it's not the rules that make it dogmatic. Oh, shout out to Indy Phil with the $6 super chat. I think we got Morty here. So he's owed one. He's owed one. Yeah, good job. And our new sponsor of the stream gets a double for that. Thank you so much. Indie Film says, do we need a PB and IJ shirt? Put a 1 in the chat if you would buy, with a discount code, a shirt that had me and Peter Boghossian and it said PB and J and IJ. Very curious. Thank you so much. Let me get to these questions and then I will definitely get the banner. Where were we? Thank you so much, brother. Much appreciated. So yeah, the rules are dogmatic, absolutely. But to say that there was no dogma because there were no rules is simply incorrect. So he says it gained many more as it grew in size. That is very true. You deleted that. So Daniel says, wait a minute. God says stealing is bad, but almost all Christian feast days are co-opted from polytheistic religions. Would that not be the theft of a feast day? God is bad. God is bad. He can't even follow his own goddamn rules. But good point, right? Nick says he didn't leave a diary, so we don't even know what Jesus actually thought, said, or did.
Bingo.
Yeah, there was people decades after he died that are our first accounts of who this man was. So think about if somebody give me a 90s celebrity who is no longer alive. Robin Williams. So let's say that not even a Gen Z, but a Generation Alpha person who's 3 years old right now. Nobody else in the world has ever written anything about Robin Williams. All of his movies were lost, and everything about his life has been forgotten. And then in 2070, some guy writes a book about how Robin Williams was the funniest person in the world. Okay, sure. But how do you know? Oh, you don't know. That doesn't mean it's not true, but that is the dogma. Well said. Martian Overlord says, don't lie, don't steal, don't MDK. Is that I'm gonna assume, yeah. Don't SA. That should have been the commandments. Yep, but surprisingly, some of that stuff is left off the list. Daniel said, or Catholics repurposing all of the Vatican, really, for their own purposes. That's destruction and theft. 2 for 2, baby! 2 for 2. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. We got some more here. Ayush says, of course, we are on the same page. I just wanted to establish that first. Cool. I'm loving it. Consider a society where everyone is blissed out and in the best possible well-being. Is that an objectively better society than the one where there's challenges, suffering, and overcoming them is rewarding, like the one we have now? No, because that would be less well-being, because there would be less of that overcoming and rewarding. If we're having rewards in this place just because there's temporary displeasure, that's not that, I mean, it's not as simple as like, lifting weights and having sore muscles isn't the same type of suffering as looking like me. Right? That was a good one. That was a good one. But it's not as simplistic as you're making it out to be. So if we live in this world, then there's less well-being because people aren't feeling fulfilled. When we live in this world, then people are more fulfilled. So it's a better world. Martian Overlord says the New Testament was after God got therapy. Zippy was just saying it did not have as many as it started out. Fair. Martian said we need people to work together. Bingo. Absolutely. And I completely agree. There's no reward in a blissed out society, and therefore it is further away from the best possible well-being for all people than what we have right now. I'm getting it, guys. I'm trying to do everything at once. I'm trying to answer your shit. Damn. All right. Well, let me get this back and fix our sponsor of the stream.
And I said, well, why not? Because that would be like the gold standard for evidence. And he said, because it's not possible. And I said,
I'm going to back this up a little. I don't know what he said.
And he said, no.
Oh, yeah. It's the 10 skeletons.
Correctly identify each time with a very small margin of error. Would you be willing to change your mind and say, yes, there's a difference between male and female skeletons? And he said, no. And I said, well,
shout out again to Indie Film, the new sponsor of the stream.
Why not? Because that would be like the gold standard for evidence. Mm-hmm. And he said, because it's not possible. And I said, okay, well, let's just hypothesize. This is a hypothetical. And I found, and I'm wondering if you found this too.
If he's going to go in and say something along the lines of people who can't engage with hypotheticals and analogies, I am going to swoon. I don't know. But that is, I think, where this sounds like it's going. And that's something that I've been talking about for a long time. That is a huge red flag. If somebody can't say, okay, if we did this, then, but that's not what it is. Or, I'm talking about the chess analogy or the chicken parm analogy. And they go, well, but it's not chicken parm, it's religion. Then stupid. They're not that smart. But let's see. Is that where he's going? Or am I getting ahead of myself?
Just hypothesis. This is a hypothetical. And I found, and I'm wondering if you found this too.
Well, not possible. What do you mean by not possible?
Well, that's what I said.
And you get these experts and you give them these skeletons and you get them to...
Double blind, so they don't know which skeleton is which.
Believe nothing except that anything is possible.
He said it's not possible for them to tell the difference between male and female.
Prejudging the experiment before you do the experiment.
And I said, well, just like hypothetically, let's just say hypothetically.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to change your mind? And he said,
but they wouldn't. But they wouldn't be able to, bro.
Said no. And the thing that
is a very revealing answer.
So that was going to be my question to you. So I found that often the people who stand on the extreme lines, strongly disagree, strongly agree, they have an inability to imagine things. They have an inability to entertain hypothetical.
Guys, am I a goddamn genius or what? I didn't know he was going to say that. I've been talking about that for months. I'm just so smart and awesome and amazing. It is no wonder why you guys are here. I wish I was that confident. Nick says, question, do you all agree that killing is wrong? And if so, do you consider self-defense or being in war as an exception? I do, but I want to get other perspectives. So personally, I believe that murder is wrong. So I guess I'm kind of answering So yes, I guess if we are saying self-defense and being in war as exceptions, then killing generally would be wrong. But I don't like to think of it as killing, and especially since you're not saying killing people, then I don't think it's wrong to, like, let's say you're stranded on a desert island and there's no animals. And the only thing is, all right, we're going to fight to the death, and whoever wins gets a hearty meal. Unless you're dealing with me, then you get a nice little snack. But that you might consider that under self-defense. So I think we probably all have that same intuition, unless anybody disagrees. Martian Overlord said the blissed out society was on the hollow ship. How did that work out? I'm genuinely asking because I don't know what the hollow ship is. Zippy says, in general, yes, but it still has to be case by case. Well said. I like that. Ayush said, there's no creativity in a blissful society.
Bingo!
What you're describing as your moral good is what people concocted as what heaven would be like. I'm saying heaven is no better than the world we're in. I would generally agree with that. I think that the notion of having it being separate from life and afterlife, and that you would have earned getting through the pearly gates, that I don't think that I disagree that the blissful society would be a bad, like, if I believed, I would want heaven to be that blissed out society. I wouldn't want to have anything to overcome, because I would have done that in this life. But because I don't believe that exists, then I treat this as the best I'm going to get, whether it's heaven, hell, earth, or otherwise. And that's moot, because this is all I believe that I have. But yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you on that blissed out thing, because that's where people usually go when we talk about the best possible well-being. But being blissed out, as you aptly pointed out, is not the best way for a human to survive.
Even if...
Oh, comment of the night. Good one. Good one. Good one. Bliss is ignorance, and ignorance is bliss. That was good. That was good. All right, let's go back and hear him say the same thing that I've been saying for a million times, just to stroke my own ego.
Things have an inability to imagine things. They have an inability to entertain hypothetical.
Look, even if you couldn't do it by the anatomy of the skeleton, which I think you could,
Yeah.
you've only got to take some DNA from the bone, and if there's a Y chromosome, it's male. It's absolutely, I mean, it's 100%. There'll be no question about it. So if you ask your whoever it was you were talking to,
Yeah,
would you not accept that evidence, or would you not accept? You've got 1,000 bones and
No, Richard, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many bones. It doesn't matter how many experts, because these people are dogmatic. There is nothing you can say to them to shake their belief. That is the problem. And so, again, going back to that moment where he felt like his life's work was useless. It's like, no, it's got a whole new life now. Because while there's many people who were religious who find a better life not being religious and are still moral people, now you have a whole new group of people who are stuck to a dogma that's causing them to behave in a not great way in society. So if anything, your career has been reinvigorated, as we need you now more than ever. Daniel said, and let's not forget that as a small L libertarian, I'm more than willing to let people go off in the middle of a parking lot and pew-pew each other to their heart's content, as long as they're consenting adults. And I was just saying, no, I meant if the world we know is heaven. Okay, if the world we know is heaven, then what if it became, okay. So you would prefer not being blissed out, even if you've earned all that reward, even if you went through all that struggle and earned all the reward that would check off the box that, let's take it out of Christianity specifically, but let's just call it a general heaven. You've done all that work. You still wouldn't want to have the reward be being blissed out. And I can understand that. My preference would be different. I feel like every day is just, a grind. And even, the times that are happy Even the times that are fun are still kind of just a distraction from all the other bullshit that's going on all the time, everywhere. So, I mean, I'd be blissed out. And I mean, as somebody who used to do drugs that would bliss you the fuck out, it's not half bad. Hi, Barbara. No, yeah. Zippy says to Daniel, that's a danger to the public. Do it at the stadium. Parking lot, stadium, what have you. It would be sanctioned spot, but it's a spot for two dumbasses to go shoot each other. And I would pay the pay-per-view.
And every single one of them either has a Y chromosome or it doesn't.
Right.
And that is absolutely cut and dried diagnostic. And would he still not accept it? I mean...
Yeah, it's interesting.
Nope, they wouldn't accept it. Why, kids? Why? Put it in the chat. Because of dogma.
Put out a really interesting tweet a few years ago. Eric Weinstein put out a tweet a few years ago. If there's a conflict between biology and gender studies, on which side do you err? And I mean, it was
wow, look at that. So assume that the fields of gender studies and biology came to disagree on a matter of gender and sex. Which would you be likely to believe more? 94.5% said biology. And I'm sure this is 60,000 people. So you know that there was a bunch of lefties who were like, oh, I want to go and mess that up and click gender studies. Turns out that was only 5% of you.
And it just would be, it was just amazing to me how many of the responses or how many people as well gender studies.
Yeah, because
what's 5% of 60,000? 1% would be 6,000. So that's what, 30? No. 1% of 60, was it 60,000 or 600,000? I don't know, but you get it. A lot of people.
They would say that the biology may show that these have a Y chromosome and these don't, but that's not how I define male and female. I mean, for them, it's a matter of definition. So to a biologist, the chromosomal definition would be watertight, but they could say, oh, well, I agree that you might find that half of them have Y chromosomes and half of them don't, but that's not how I define a female.
Right. They may have those chromosomes, but you don't know how they identify. What? So you should say, I'm sorry, this is on me. I mean, facing the world head on and getting the rewards from the journey, not for the goal. So you're saying that in this scenario, that the world we live in, the life that we're living right now, is us in heaven, and it is heavenly, to use that word, because we have the opportunity not just to be blissed out, but to earn reward and earn fulfillment. Is that pretty much what you're saying?
So they would take refuge behind a change of language.
So in that case, the way that we would adjudicate the claim would be anything other than...
All right, we figured it out. All right. Yeah, I think So if there was no life before, and this is just heaven, and this is the best you can get, I don't know, man. I still think I'd rather be blissed out. But hey, to each their own. I would rather be blissed out, but that's just me. That's just me.
Science would be arbitrary. Would be sub.
Whoa! What? What? Science would be arbitrary. What did we miss here?
The way that we would adjudicate the claim would be anything other than science would be arbitrary, would be subject to the moral caprices of the age.
Yes, but they wouldn't use that kind of language. They wouldn't use a word like caprices. They would say things like human definitions are more important than science anyway, because they despise science.
They do. Because science is a meta-narrative. It's a way, like Leotard said, it's a way to explain the world. So that's the other thing. So we're dealing with people for whom there's an open antagonism to science. There's an open antagonism to reason and evidence. And
ironically, both sides are going to accuse the other of that. And usually the anti-woke are right, except when you rely on your dogmatic beliefs. So again, I will say, when it comes to not just the game of morality, but the game of politics, then maybe gatekeeping morality behind religion is not a good game plan.
To borrow a Turner phrase, their cognitions have been colonized, right? They've been colonized by an exogenous ideology. And this is, I think, a difference between faith and the new religion. So with
the difference between faith and the new religion. I wonder what he's going to say. I always try to, see if I can see where this is going. Where do you think he's going with this? The difference between faith and the new religion or wokeness. Martian says human definitions are Bologna. We keep making up new words for old definitions, aka semantic obfuscation. The only thing that's just as bad as dogma when it comes to discussion in politics.
One of the old religions, ultimately, when you start asking people questions, and you've done this more than anybody, you start asking people questions about why they believe. Once you've cleared through all the nonsense, they're going to say faith. That's just... Once all the historical stuff falls and the testimony falls and the whatever it is falls, they're going to say faith.
And there's going to be a lot of other reasons that back up the faith, but not lead you to the faith. So, like, very often you'll hear things like, "Oh, look at the beauty of a flower," and the way that your eye works, even though most people wear contacts or glasses. Or how could the universe just come into the, like, I don't know, but I'm not willing to use the God of the gaps argument and say I don't know, therefore God. I'm comfortable with just saying I don't know, and maybe one day we'll find out, and maybe one day we won't. But either way, just choosing an arbitrary answer because we feel like it makes us feel better to not know, and we think we know just because we said we know, is, I mean, at least equivalent to the blissed outness that Ayesha's talking about, that there has to be greater value in understanding as much as you can about reality versus just accepting a cozy story about it and not understanding that.
The problem is that anybody who is a little knowledgeable about wokeism or whatever term we want to use, they will do one of a few things. They'll refer to a best-selling author, Ta-Nehisi Coates, Ibram X. Kendi, Robin DiAngelo, etc. So they'll refer
appeal to unqualified authority
to that, or they'll, if they're knowledgeable and they're an academic, they'll talk about literature, the peer-reviewed literature. And that peer-reviewed literature has been, what I've written about before, it's been idea laundered. So you get a bunch of people who are ideologues together, who already, they start with their conclusion first and they work backward from the conclusion, the exact opposite of science. So they start with their conclusion first.
Trans women are, is that what he's going to say?
Trans women or women, for example, or whatever the conclusion is. They get together with other people who have the similar beliefs. They make a journal. It goes in as a moral impulse. It gets idea laundered, and it comes out as a fact. So those people, they don't
listen. That was beautifully put. That was beautifully put. Wow. I mean, maybe he said that before, but that was great. Let's listen to that one more again.
Whatever the conclusion is, they get together with other people who have the similar beliefs. They make a
community
journal. It goes in as a moral impulse. It gets idea laundered, and it comes out as a fact. So those people,
that's how the new religion, that's how wokeness is exactly the same in the way that it propagates as any other religion.
They don't. Nobody who buys into the ideology will ever use the word faith, because they have authors and they have kind of high priests of the ideology who have either written books about this stuff, so they'll reference a book, but the books themselves, they're predicated on nothing. They're completely made up. The whole
Yep.
thing is made up.
Okay, was he talking about Ibram X. Kendi or was he talking about the Bible? Or both?
And so they don't need faith for that.
Yes.
I mean, it's a more intractable problem than someone just saying, "Yeah, I believe this guy walked on water." And after you ask them 20 questions or Socratic questions or so, they say, "Well, it's my faith. I believe it in
We
my
got
heart."
a Morty in the building.
Well, these folks aren't operating that way. I mean, they're operating in the way that they have these strong moral impulses and they feel things very deeply about social justice or the correct way we've been horrifically treated people in the past. There's no question. But there is something different about, and this is why I think that one of the primary dangers we face now is the wholesale capture of the academy, because the academy is giving these people jobs for life. They're not allowing dissident voices to come in.
Ooh, that sounds like dogma. It sounds like another opportunity for somebody to go get indoctrinated and then never, ever, 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 ever have to go out into the world and have their beliefs actually tested. You go into school, you download everything that they tell you, then you go work at the school and be the next person to start indoctrinating the next crowd of people, the next generation of people who are just going to spew exactly what you've been doing. So maybe the transes have been doing it for the last 2, 3, 5 decades, but religions have been doing it for millennia.
They're pumping out utter complete madness. That's what we try to do in the so-called squared thing, to try to, take the robes off, show that the emperor has no clothes. But in traditional religions, it just doesn't have that sophistication. It doesn't have that imprimatur of institutional legitimacy that you get from what we have now with organizational capture.
Well said.
I hope
well said.
not in science departments, although.
So, I mean, when to be able to just say something like that and not be like, damn, I'm smart. Like I would, means that like this guy, he's operating at a different level. He's operating at a different level. So again, he is going to be here. Like we're gonna be. Does it gonna work like that? No. Okay. I thought it was gonna. But he's going to be right there. He's going to be right there, Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you have questions ready. I really want to get as much as we can. He is such a great mind that it would be a shame. It would be a shame if we don't have questions ready from you guys. I have my questions that I'm ready to ask him, but I'm so excited to see what you guys are looking to ask him. Nick says, believing in something doesn't mean it's true, and it's not evidence of it. Even if everyone agrees, it still isn't evidence. Bingo! Very, very true.
Though unfortunately, I do think there's some evidence for capture in science journals.
Yeah, for sure. Jerry's been writing about that.
Yes, that's right, in Scientific American and Nature.
So when all these lefties are like, well, source, well, this, and I remember when, going back to Emma Vigilant on the Culture War, and she was like, American Pediatrics, the American Association of this, all of it has been captured by woke ideology in the same way that everything before, 1990 was at least some way captured, or let's say the 60s. Everything before the hippie revolution was tied to the dogmatic belief that Christianity was correct.
But I think the capture of universities is maybe true of departments of sociology and anthropology, perhaps humanities. But I hope not all.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder, I've been thinking a lot about, and everybody's talking about a unified field theory.
Unified field theory. Hold on.
In science. I've been wondering, what do you think? Do you think that there could be like a unified field theory of rationality, like certain core components that make somebody rational? That unify different.
Well,
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I suppose the organization that non-profit I'm in, the Center for Inquiry.
Shout out to Martian Overlord. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Until next time, peace. Have a good one, brother.
Has been devoted its time to.
Tell us about
This-
that. Tell us about
Well,
that.
it's has partly an atheistic secular arm, and it has partly a skeptical arm that fights homeopathy and telepathy and psychokinesis and
Telepathy and
things like that. So it's
psychokinesis. I thought they used to call it telekinesis. Is that something different? But we can just put it all in the bucket of bullshit.
it's in the business runs two journals, one a secular journal and called Free Inquiry, and one a skeptical journal about all the other stuff, which is called the Skeptical Inquirer. And it's been at it for decades now. And I think we've kind of sort of now realized that we have a new problem on our hands.
Right.
Absolutely. A new problem indeed. So there is a little bit more. There's about 10 to 15 minutes more of that podcast. I definitely suggest that you go check it out, especially in preparation for our guest. Big shout out to everybody who has been here, but a special shout out to Unwanted Folk for the super chat, for Zippy the Strange, and of course, the sponsor of the stream, Indie Film. Thank you so much, guys. I really do appreciate it. You know how much I love being here hanging out with you guys, but unfortunately, I wish I could do this for free. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. And so when you guys do stuff like this, it really helps my ability to not only continue doing this, but look further forward and do things like get Peter Boghossian on the channel. And I'm so excited that a lot of things are coming. We have actually, I forgot to mention, we are going to have a guest on Saturday evening as well. We're doing Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to have someone very special. And I told you guys we are doing more. I promised, and it's happening. So make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you have all the notifications. Make sure you got all that stuff. Make sure you join the Discord, guys. Join the Discord. It is free to join. If you're not already in there, just drop the link in the chat. It is free, but it's not going to stay that way. Once we get to a certain level, I'm going to cut it off. And everybody who's in there is going to stay in there for free forever. But everybody else is going to have to pay, and they're going to want to hang out with you. And of course, that is where we go for the after party. We're going right now over to the video chat to talk a little bit more about this and whatever else we feel like. I want to thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. You guys are so awesome. You make this fun every single time. And, I really think we're doing something here, guys. I really do. Maybe I'm a little bit delusional, but we are doing things here. So please keep on coming back, keep on questioning me, keep on doing everything that you're doing. This is exactly what I wanted. So thank you so much. Once again, I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, this has been Morty. We are out of here. Peace.